In the course of 3 centuries, Willemstad, historic capital of Curaçao, developed into a post-colonial Caribbean seaport influenced by a multicultural society. Due to the outstanding universal value of the historic area, the inner city and harbour, Willemstad was appointed a World Heritage City by UNESCO in 1997. The famous floating Queen Emma pontoon bridge connects Punda and Otrobanda since 1888. The city consists of 4 unique districts connected by bridges. Permanent access for motorized traffic to the east and the west of the island became possible in 1974 when the 56-meter-high Juliana Bridge over the Santa Ana Bay was inaugurated. At the entrance of the harbour, on the peninsula named the Punt, from which the name Punda was derived, the Dutch West India Company built Fort Amsterdam in 1635, after they took over Curaçao from the Spaniards. Between the bastions above the main gate of the fortress, the residence of the director of the Dutch West India Company was built. In the course of centuries, the palace was the accommodation of many governors of the Netherlands Antilles. The facades were adapted to the prevailing neoclassical architecture in the 19th century. In the courtyard of Fort Amsterdam, a double staircase leads to the main entrance of the palace, where since 2010 the governor of Curaçao represents the Dutch crown. The Protestant church in Fort Amsterdam was built in the 18th century and is still in use. Inside the church, 4 massive columns support the wooden vaults up high. Attached in the top is an original dial of the tower clock. A beautiful example of craftsmanship from that time is the pulpit made by deacon and master carpenter Pieter de Meij of Fort Amsterdam. The former vestry is refurbished as a museum with artifacts from the history of the Protestant church. In the second half of the 17th century, north of Fort Amsterdam, the budding Punda developed gradually. Narrow, high houses were built close together due to the limited space inside the city walls. A former dwelling with the date of 1693 on a Dutch spouted gable is the oldest architectural style on Curaçao. The gallery, most probably a Spanish influence, is a typical feature of the old street. The monument now is a postal museum. Some open wooden galleries were filled in with louvered windows, like at the monument along the Wind Alley that recently became inhabited. The pleasant space invites to relax and look around to make a choice from the colorful paintings. Popular are the hand-painted chichis. Further on, at another small shop, hats are painted with flower designs in one's favorite color. In the 18th century, many Jewish merchants lived in Punda. Their houses were built in the center of the city. On some facades, the construction year according to the Jewish calendar is still visible. Later, some galleries of wealthy merchant houses were constructed of stone in front of the houses, according to the popular Baroque architecture of the time. On the ground floor were the shops and warehouses. The upper floors were used to live. One of the finest examples of Curaçao Baroque is the Pina Building, prominently situated at the Santa Ana Bay along the Handelskade. The building is one of the most important architectural and historical monuments of Willemstad. A alongside the streets of Punda are monuments from various architectural eras. In essence, they reflect the Dutch culture, but due to climate adaptations and multicultural influences, they got a Curaçao charm. Decorated alleyways between the historic buildings lead to shaded terraces with artistically made murals. Down the street is a small and cozy restaurant. The owners, an Italian couple, started here 31 years ago. Besides the delicious food from the Italian kitchen, the interior is decorated creatively by the personal touch of the hostess. As a dessert, there is tiramisu. Once it's been tasted, you keep on eating.
Ciao, a presto, arrivederci.
Opposite the restaurant is the Sephardic Mikveh Israel Emmanuel Synagogue, since 1732 in continuous use. The facade consists of 3 smoothly merged Baroque bell-shaped gables. Inside the synagogue, the lightfall through the azure-stained glass windows creates a particular atmosphere on the sand-covered floor. In the alley, next to the synagogue, is a house with a conspicuous Baroque gallery. A decorated shield shows the construction date. Water jars on the corners reportedly refer to a mikvah, a Jewish ritual bath situated in the house. Next to the building was the former home of the rabbi. Both houses are part of the Jewish Cultural Historical Museum, which is accessed at the rear through the entrance of the synagogue. In the courtyard of the museum, the bath, the probable mikvah, was discovered during the restoration of the houses. Inside the museum is a fine collection pertaining to the Jewish religion and culture. In the second half of the 19th century, classical architecture became popular. By adding large pediments on top of a Baroque gallery, people apparently wanted to adapt their property to the prevailing classical style. After 3 centuries, Punda lost its residential function. However, the oldest district of historic Willemstad remained a shopping center. The former De Ruiter Square, now Plaza Jojo Correa, is still a business center. Another feature that remained as it was is the floating market, where for many generations Venezuelan men earned their daily income by selling fresh fish, fruit and vegetables from their wooden boats from Venezuela. Due to the presence of the port and related trade and industry, together with a multicultural community, the 4 historic districts of Willemstad developed into a unique city for the Caribbean and beyond.